Shalom. This is Rabbi David Kaufman, and you are watching Understanding the World. We're going to begin a new segment of the show today, and the new segment is called The World in 5 Minutes. This week, Pope Benedict stunned the Roman Catholic Church on Monday when he announced that he would step down. The first pope to do so in 700 years. He said he no longer had the mental and physical strength to carry on. Church officials have tried to relay a feeling of calm and control in the church, and I think that's very important to do because this was a shocking statement for the world's over 1 billion Catholics. The future of the church as the church moves forward is profoundly impactful on many different things, including certainly the lives of the world's Catholics, but also relations with other nations and relations among religious peoples. The last time a pope was selected, it was a very critical time for Jewish Catholic relations, and this new selection of a pope will be equally impactful on Jewish Catholic relations. In fact, there's a good possibility that the next pope will be one not from Europe and one who never had a culture of understanding the impact of World War II on the Jewish people, never had any understanding of the Holocaust, and never had any understanding of the history of anti-Semitism in Europe. We could potentially have a pope from Africa. We could potentially have a pope from South or from Latin America who has a completely different perspective. And this would require a new path for Jewish Catholic relations. That is the primary story of the week. Another major story this week is the North Korean nuclear test. Today it was announced that no radiation was detected from that test, which is both a good sign and a troubling sign. It's a good sign because obviously we don't want radiation leaking into our atmosphere. But it was a troubling sign because we don't know the extent of the nuclear test that was carried out. International agencies take readings both from soil and air after nuclear tests in an attempt to determine what was used in the test and what the magnitude was. We have a certain idea of what the magnitude of this test was because they can do seismic readings, and evidently an event at a 5.1 on the Richter scale was measured when the test was carried out. So it was a substantial event. North Korea, as you may know, is a nation that distributes technology around the world. It works with many of the enemies of the United States and has worked to create nuclear reactors and help other countries start nuclear programs. It is a country that is allied against the United States, and this does not bode well for nuclear containment around the world, and it does not bode well for the future of containing nations that are going to cause problems for the United States' interests around the world. In Israel, there are a number of different things going on. The two major stories are the continued struggles to form a coalition from Benjamin Netanyahu. Benjamin Netanyahu is trying to bring together the Jewish Home Party on the far right, ultra-Orthodox parties, or Haredi parties, really is the more appropriate term, just to his right and certainly to the religious right, along with his Likud Israel Beitenu party and the Yesh Atid, which is a center-right party. The Yesh Atid and Jewish Home parties, both to the left and the right of this prospective coalition, would like to have a new policy on national service put into place that applies to the Haredim, the ultra-Orthodox Jews, who currently do not serve in the military and currently do not do national service in favor of doing Torah study. And we will talk a little bit about that during the show. An additional issue that's going on in Israel this week, and it's on the front page for the last couple of days, is the Prisoner X scandal. Prisoner X is a man named Ben Zeiger, who is a former, was a Mossad agent who was born in Australia. He evidently was involved in actions against Iran and in a number of covert activities, and could possibly, at least the belief is as of today, that he turned against Israel, was relaying information to other governments, and was then arrested and in Israeli prison committed suicide. That's the report as we have it today. And then finally, in this World in 5 Minutes, the big issue in the United States this week was, of course, the State of the Union address, in which the president focused primarily on economic and domestic issues. There certainly were some issues that relate to foreign policy, such as our interactions dealing with oil and dealing with soldiers fighting in Afghanistan and Iraq coming home. But there was not so much of a discussion about the Middle East. There's not so much of a discussion about the Arab Spring as there was last year. There was almost no mention, in fact, no mention of Africa, no mention of Latin or South America, and the focus of the entire speech seemed to be away from the foreign policy issues that we tend to talk about on this show, and which I think still pose a significant challenge for the United States as it moves forward. That's the world in 5 minutes.